I don't know if that worked. I have absolutely no idea until somebody in the chat tells us whether you can see me or hear me or what. We're on a brand new streaming software. Melon it's called. I don't know anything about it. Thank you, Creaky Blinder, for setting us up with the account, though. And while I'm checking out in the chat, let's address what everyone's going to want to know about. And that is, where is the main man himself? Tassie Vogel, cats can't take, that is true. Where is the main man himself, Creaky Blinder? Listen. If you've been following the channel for a while, hopefully you've seen the community post we put out. Creaky Blinder is an absolute legend. He's a friend of mine online. He's a friend of mine offline. We get on really well. There's been no falling out. The truth is, Creaky Blinder's channel is exploding at the minute. And he wants to spend his time doing the stuff that he enjoys most, which is the kind of content he puts out on his channel. So he's decided to take a sidestep from Agree to Disagree and concentrate on his own channel. And I wish him all the best. There's been no falling out. There's been no hostile takeover. If you have been a channel member, we appreciate that the change in dynamic, and I'll introduce the next host in a minute, but we appreciate that change in dynamic might make you not want to be anymore. I don't know. So we've cancelled the memberships. We've shut the Patreon down. None of that exists anymore. And this is our relaunch. But Creaky Blinder, hope you're watching, mate. He's an absolute legend. And best luck to you with everything you do. I'm sure we'll get him on here for a chat in the near future. So now we were looking around for a co-host who has the ethos of Agree to Disagree. Somebody that doesn't want to have dumpster fire debate, somebody who understands what a debate should be, somebody who's committed to, as committed as we are, to having one person speak and the other person listen and you know, keep things as civil as possible. And we have found somebody with a really good history in debating, and you know what, let's just bring them on. Here we go. So our new co-host, the new Creaky, is going to be, hello.
Hey people, the new Creaky. That's no pressure at all. You're not setting me up for failure here at all.
But you're the new, you're the old. Well, what do you want, the new Creaky or the old Crafty? Like, what would you rather have?
I don't want to be compared to Creaky because I'll fail.
No, absolutely not. This, but we are right in what we said. There's been no falling out, anything like that. It's all amicable, and in fact, it was Creaky himself who gave you the seal of approval to take over. So, you know.
Yeah, and we love Creaky. I love Creaky. So yeah, I'm glad to be here because ever since the inception of the channel, I've been quite heavily invested in it in terms of I got very sick of the screaming back and forth at each other and the insults that would happen. That I like the fact that here we have a chance to listen to both sides, whether we agree with them or not, and just have a civil conversation. For me, I grew up in debates. I've been involved in community politics. I've been involved in debating societies professionally. So for me, a debate isn't about having an argument. It's about getting the points across from each opposing side. So I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, absolutely. Because at the end of the day, debate is for the people watching to make the decision who wins. It's not about you know, trying to prove to the person you're debating that you're right or wrong, because you're not going to change somebody's mind in the middle of a debate. It's about the people who are watching. And I think that's what we like here. I just want to say thank you very much to C4 for the super chat. I'm going to have to look at that. That is a reference to a guest that we've got coming on in a second, which is obviously that's been given away now. Whitsit Gets It is going to be the opponent of Ranty tonight. Should we get Ranty on, Crafty? What do you think?
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to this debate.
Should we test your tech skills? Have you got the tech ability to bring Ranty on, or is that all me now? Because I'm logged in as Agree to Disagree.
I can log on as Agree to Disagree, and I'll be able to do it. I was able to do it before you came in, so.
But you're not doing it right. So I'll press the magic, but this finger is going to bring Ranty on. This finger will turn Ranty on, and here's the man himself.
Shocking.
How are you doing, mate? Do you feel super switched on now?
Listen, just the idea of your finger switching me on. I mean, come on. It's a bit.
It's going to be one of those days.
It's going to be one of those days, yeah, definitely. Yeah, glad to be here. It's a little bit late, you know. It's like 10:30 here, and you know, it's been nice weather today, so I've had a few beers, so I'm all ready for this now.
And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. The last debate you had on the Conspiracy Cats channel with Brian's Logic was, I thought, quite productive and, you know, quite civil from both sides. Thank you very much, Tati Bogle, by the way, for that one. Now, we haven't got a million minutes tonight because we'll talk about this at the end of the stream, but Crafty Keeler has got a stream of her own starting at midnight. And we're going to end bang on midnight. And hopefully people, if you like what you hear tonight, you can go over and listen to Craft. And you can tell us more about that later on. But should we get your opponent on now?
Yeah, sure. But I just want to say something before he comes in. I just want to say that I appreciate him coming on. I'm glad that he stepped up to the plate to argue this image. You know, this is the one thing that I've wanted inside of the community, somebody to stand up. I mean, we had Brian's Logic try it, and now we've got a Globebuster in. We've got Whitsit who's coming in to tell us why on the 3 presentations that were done on the Baldy Cats channel, why this is a flat plane. So I'm really looking forward to his take on that. I respect his research and know he's going to be a tough opponent, so I'm sure he's well prepared for this. So I've been preparing all week for that. So let's get it on.
Absolutely. And I think that's important to mention that this debate has been sorted out between yourself and Whitsit, and the criteria is we're going to talk about the image and how the image is either proof of a flat earth or a globe earth. Whitsit, I've had a very quick chat with him behind the scenes. He seems very civil and ready to go. So hopefully he's heard everything we've said. I don't know. I haven't got a clue about this new software. Could you hear us all there, Whitsit, with that?
Yeah. Yep. What's going on?
Cool.
Hey,
Yeah, good. We've got I think we've got a little bit of feedback. Do you happen to have any headphones? Doesn't matter if you don't, but we are hearing ourselves through you.
No, I don't have headphones. I can turn down some and just mute when I'm not talking, but that's all I got.
Okay, mate. No, that's fine. If that's what we've got, that's what we've got. Not a problem. Welcome to the channel. And it is the first time we've ever spoken, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, for sure.
So I know, you know, like we said offline, you're probably aware of what my channel is at least, and the type of videos I make, but you will be given, we are completely neutral here. You will be given every single second you need to talk to make your point totally uninterrupted. Like I said, Ranty's been on before, but we just expect that in return. So, you know, whatever time Ranty's speaking, if we don't interrupt, and we promise you'll get exactly the same. Is that all cool?
Sounds good, bro.
Crafty, is there anything you want to say before we start?
No, the only thing is, as I said, we don't allow dumpster fires here. And if it gets to the point where one person can't help but talk over another, we don't care what side that's on. We will be either removing them from the stream so the one person gets a chance to speak, or we will be muting. So, just so both sides are aware, that is a possibility. And it's not to be disrespectful. It's not to be attacking someone for trying to make a point. It's just that it keeps the conversation going.
Cool. Right. Well, in that case, the topic of the stream is the White Swan image, which I'll put on screen in a second. In fact, I'll just put it on now before Ranty speaks. So this is the there we go. This is the infamous image here that turned Ranty from being one of the most well-known, should we say, flat earthers in the community, to now being a globe earther, should you put it, to being not a flat earther anymore. And this is going to be the top. So I can bring this up, guys, anytime you want. I will, and then you can tell me what to point at or whatnot. How do we get this looking a bit better? There we go. So, Ranty, you're muted. Can you just unmute?
There you go.
Okay, so I believe that the topic was that we were going to start with Whitsit to tell us what's wrong with the image. Was that the plan?
Yeah, I was hoping Whitsit could explain to us, you know, the three criteria we went through: the trigonometry, the visual effects of the mountain, and the pixel count. You know, why you can't use them to determine what's going on here, and how that conforms to this being a flat Earth image.
Okay. So what I'll ask then, Ranty, is if you put yourself on mute, Whitsit, you will not be interrupted. You've got the floor. I'll click on you, so hopefully everyone can see you.
All right. So, yeah, how does trigonometry not work as the way you're applying it? Well, you're taking certain angles and then you're not accounting for refraction at all. In addition to this, as to the question that he just now said this is all about, does this work on a flat Earth or a globe Earth? Well, you know, if you're going to take the angular change over distance into account, then you're going to have to apply that to your Earth curve calculator. But none of the Earth curve calculators account for angular size change with distance. So we actually can't compare the geometric nature of your trigonometry, not accounting for refraction, with the Earth curve calculator because it doesn't account for angular size change with distance. So we would expect to see this on a flat Earth, just like the time-lapse show. There's a constant fluctuation of the mountains because it's just an apparent location. The globe Earth claims that what we see is obstructed physically. A physical Earth curvature is called geometric horizon, so it should be consistently physically obstructed based on the radius value relative to your observer's height in feet, but we don't see that. We see a constant fluctuation. In addition to that, of course, you can see the tower, and it appears to be taller because it's significantly closer, so it's actually had less change over distance. It's just angular size change with distance. In addition to that, the beginning or the front of the mountains is the lowest part of the mountains. The highest altitude of the mountains are actually further back away from the observer, so we would expect to see greater change of angular size in the highest part of the mountain, which is what we see. In addition to that, to claim that there is physical obstruction of Earth curvature, you'd actually have to see the bottom of the mountain. It's clearly obstructed by the land in between us and the mountain and everything on that landscape. So of course we don't see the bottom of the mountain. So to say, basically implicit in your claim is that this is impossible on a flat Earth. But no, it literally isn't. That's why you had to chop out the left side of the image that shows the horizon significantly further away. You literally had to chop it out. I went to the Twitter of the guy who took this picture, and the whole entire image is on his Twitter, but the picture that you use, you chop out the entire left portion of it, which is just not honest in any way. But it shows that the horizon's further back behind that landmass that appears to obstruct it, which means it's actually a black swan. And just for anyone that doesn't know, since he coined it the white swan, as they both did, well, the analogy is that if you say that all swans are white, and then you find one swan that's black, that falsifies the claim that all swans are white. So if you name this the white swan, you are just by deduction of the actual analogy saying that it's just an observation that is actually deceptive. It isn't the truth, because the truth is that there's a black swan. If you're the person in the analogy saying, look, there's a white swan, then you're not even actually, responding or offering sufficient rebuttal. So yeah, it's a white swan until you put the rest of the picture in there. Now it's a black swan because the geometric horizon is not where it's supposed to be. So you have you're going to actually have to specify how it wouldn't work on a flat Earth, because this is what we would expect to see: angular size change with distance. The highest part of the mountains are further away, so it is affected by angular size change with distance more because there's more distance, and we can't see the bottom of the mountain. And you chopped out the part where it shows the horizon extend beyond the geometric necessitation of the geometric horizon based on your radius value. So how could this not work on a flat Earth?
Whitsit, thank you so much for that. Can I just clarify? Because what I want Ranty to do is specifically address your points. I don't want anybody dodging anybody's points. So can I sum up what I think you've said? And then if I'm wrong, you tell me. Is that okay? Yeah?
Sure.
You're suggesting that the left side of the image that was cropped out of what we used on the debate is essentially proof. It's essentially a black swan. It proves that the Earth is flat. That left side of the image that was cropped out.
It proves that the geometric horizon is not where it's supposed to be. Yeah.
And you're also claiming that the calculations that took place didn't take into account some angular change after perspective.
Well, they account for the angular size change by invoking their trigonometry. That doesn't account for refraction. But whenever they account for the angular size change, they don't apply that over to the Earth curve calculator to see if it works the same, because the Earth curve calculator doesn't account for perspective, i.e. angular size change with distance. So it doesn't prove the Earth's a ball because it doesn't even account for that in the Earth curve calculator.
Okay, cool. Hope you think you've been given a first shot with that. All I ask is that while Ranty's giving his rebuttal, you just don't interrupt, and then you'll be given the same time. Crafty, is there anything you want to add or say or send in the chat before we pass to Ranty?
No, there's I do want to remind the chat to please try and be respectful to one another. It's good to have discussion in the chat, but please don't insult each other.
Ranty.
Yes.
Take it away.
Can I share my screen?
Well, it depends what you're sharing, mate. Yeah, if it's any old holiday snaps, I'd rather you didn't, but go on.
I will be good. I promise.
Right, I'm going to add it now. Is that okay? Is it safe to add it now?
Yes, yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
There we go. Right, take it away.
Okay, so Whitsit said that you couldn't calculate the angle to the mountain on a globe, and I would disagree with that. simply because what you can do is you can actually just apply the drop value or the hidden value. In this case, it was the hidden value to what you'd expect to see on the mountain. And then you've got obviously distances with new heights of the mountains. And suddenly then when you actually put that into the earth to a angular size calculator, you can actually work out what the angular size of those would be. So I also did this on a flat plane too. If we go back here, this is on a flat plane, and you can see that the angular size for the mountain should be 0.56 degrees, but for the tower it should be 0.48 degrees. Now that's at the given distances and given elevations of all the objects that we know that's inside of this image. So, you know, and then obviously when you come back here and you look at what it should look like on a globe, and you see that the tower should be 0.48 degrees and the mountain should be 0.3 degrees. Well, that's absolutely spot on, in my opinion, and it works out perfectly with the image that's seen. So the idea that you can't apply trigonometry to any kind of curve or curve mathematics just because it isn't in the curve calculator doesn't mean that you can't use the two independently to come up with a result. And that's what's happened here. So the Earth curve calculator gave a amount missing, and then obviously you can work out the angular size of that by a process of just using the two apps together. It's really quite simple. So I don't understand why that was an issue. And also, just to clear up the image on Twitter, actually the image was cropped by himself. So Kevin Jackson actually cropped the image and posted an image on his Twitter and on the Blackpool site too. And that was actually the cropped version. So I'm sure that there probably is maybe a full-size version there that you can purchase, or it is on the Twitter too. But to the idea that the left-hand side has any kind of proof, just because of somebody is claiming that the horizon seems to be further away, is just ridiculous, because I've already done the calculations on that too. I don't know if Whitsit had the opportunity to actually look at the debate with Brian, but let me just try and bring up the left side analysis. I'm just going to change.
I will. I'm just going to give you
picture.
Maybe like 2.5 minutes before I pass it back to Whitsit. So speedy.
No problem. Okay, so looking on the left-hand side of the image, I mean, there's a whole bunch of reasons here to show exactly why that isn't true, why the horizon is not further or not dropping in any way, shape, or form. First and foremost, we would assume by process of elimination that Whitsit is probably referring to this sort of location here as being where the horizon would be. Well, these humans, unless they're 6 meters tall, then the horizon is definitely dropped. Right? That's one thing. But also there's a nice little windmill here that was picked out by Sleeping Warrior. And when we did the calculations on that, we used actual Bev's image, which actually showed up all the rest of the wind turbines. We actually found that no, there is no proof here of any kind of flatness. In fact, where the horizon intersects the land, you're looking at that mountain that those wind turbines are sitting on. There's around about 180, 190 meters of missing from that particular mountain. So I'm sorry, Whitsit, but just because you've heard somebody claiming on different debate platforms that this is some kind of black swan because of a smudge, you clearly haven't done the research. I did the research. This turbine that's on the hill has a hub height, a maximum hub height of just 41 meters. And as you can see, that hub height here is right here. And you can see that it's right on the horizon. So I am sorry, Whitsit, but there is no flat earth proof here.
Okay,
so yeah.
Let me hide that, and then it's back to you. Sorry, Whitsit, I'm just trying to get the screen sorted, and then right, mate, back to you.
Okay, so again, like to say that there's no flat earth proof here, like I didn't take this picture and say, hey, this proves the earth is flat. I know you want to straw man the argument like that. You want to straw man a model, then you want to invoke flat earth trigonometry and say how it's impossible on a flat earth. But the truth is that when we have an obstruction or an optical effect of obstruction, it's just an apparent location. It constantly fluctuates. We saw a time lapse of this very location, and the entirety of the image fluctuated the entire day throughout the day. So that's just because atmospheric conditions were fluctuating. So this isn't an actual physical obstruction. So in order for me to say how it's possible on a flat earth, well, that's the default position. Of course it's possible. It changes with angular size, and we have refraction to account for, and it constantly changes the effect. You claim You claim that there is actually a physical obstruction. This is the globe Earth's claim. The globe Earth claims it has a radius value of 3959 and that the geometric horizon is 1.225 times the square root of the observer site in feet away from the observer. So we need to see that physical obstruction, that convexity ray of terra firma. That's what this all comes down to. You're saying this isn't possible on a flat Earth. It doesn't in any way show the obstruction needed for a globe Earth. It's only possible on a flat Earth because it debunks the radius value also. This is why you cropped out the left side of the image. Now, you started by responding by saying, oh, if there is some more of the left side, and it's no, but then you talked about how you already looked at it and did the math. So you're just sitting here making contradictory claims about whether or not you saw it. It was disingenuous to just show part of the image. Part of the image shows the horizon's too far away. And in fact, in general, it doesn't matter. The horizon is just an apparent location that constantly fluctuates. So you need to show how the left side of the horizon is exactly where the geometric horizon is, or we can ask pointed questions. And say, this is the easy way for you to where you can just talk around when I'm asking you. But the question is the geometric horizon of the globe Earth in this picture?
Awesome. Before I pass it back to Ranty, Crafty, is there anything you've said, anything you want to address or?
There's a few questions there for in relation to the horizon. Can Whitsit explain why the left side would actually change where the horizon was? Because surely the horizon, it would be a constant across the entire image. And then the other one was, how exactly does the cropped part disprove the geometric horizon? They're the two questions that are coming out of the chat, just to clarify what he's talking about when he talks about the horizon.
Okay, so yeah, on the left side, the geometric horizon is nowhere to be found. The horizon extends further. The horizon is where the sky appears to meet the ground. When you have physical obstruction of land in between you and the furthest point you can see, you're going to appear to see something obstructing your view sooner, right? But when you get a little bit out of the way of that land, which is the part that he conveniently cropped off, you can see that the horizon actually is further back behind that land. This is not consistent with the claim of the geometric horizon that the globe Earth has to make. The math doesn't work. That's why you cropped that out, and then you've cherry picked a certain section of it saying this is impossible on a flat Earth. So yeah, when you cropped out the left side, the horizon extends further. You can see further distance before you see the apparent convergence of the sky and the ground. It's further away. The horizon is just apparent. So the question is very simply, are you claiming that there is a geometric horizon in this image? And if so, where is it at?
Thank you. Ranty?
Sorry, I was just on mute then. I was just getting some data up on Google Earth. So I was just wondering, can Whitsit tell us how far away he thinks the horizon is and where he's able to judge this distance from? Can he tell us what he thinks how far away the horizon is, please?
Oh, I'm just saying it isn't where the geometric horizon would have to be. So I'm asking you, if it is, where is it at? Can you think that this is the geometric horizon the globe Earth would predict? And where is it at in the picture if the geometric horizon is present? Where exactly is it?
Yeah, this is really going nowhere. I mean, you made a claim that the horizon is further than where it should be. So I would like you to tell me where on the left-hand side that you claim I have cropped. Can you tell me in that image where the horizon is, or where you think the horizon is? Because you've claimed it's further than it should be.
Well, I don't claim that the horizon is.
Sorry?
So I'm going to say, can you get that image on screen so everyone knows what you're talking about there, and then Whitsit can maybe tell you to move your mouse over different bits.
Yeah, sure. No worries.
Sorry, Whitsit, I'm not interrupting them. I'm just trying to get the picture on there for you, mate.
I don't claim that there's a geometric horizon. That's what you do. You actually are effectively committing a reversing the burden of proof fallacy because you're acting like I need to prove something here when the truth is you're invoking this saying it's impossible on a flat Earth because the Earth's a ball. Well, we were told a specific size that the Earth, that being a ball is. It's a radius of 3959. So I'm asking you, are you saying that this is the geometric horizon that we're seeing to the left? That's the question. Are you saying that's Earth curvature that we're seeing to the left?
Right. Okay. So first and foremost, the debate was on the presentation that was performed on this area here. And what you're trying to do now is deviate to the left-hand side where you can't make anything out. I will, for the process of just going through this, spend a few minutes with you talking about the left-hand side, but I would like to get it back to this part here, which is the main part of the discussion. But going over to this left-hand side, which you claim had been cropped by me, could you tell me where you think the horizon is in this image? You claimed it's further than it should be on a globe.
Yeah, no, what I'm saying is if the sky appears to meet the ground and there's an optical convergence, right there, and it's in part of the picture that you cropped out, and it actually seems to extend further than the one right to the right of it. Everyone in the audience is looking at it right now. If you look at where he cropped it, where you see these buildings, you can see that you can actually see further than that, where the sky appears to meet the ground, right past where he cropped it, which is why he cropped it. So you're saying this couldn't happen on a flat Earth because there's a physical obstruction called the geometric horizon where it's supposed to be, and that couldn't happen on a flat Earth. So now I'm asking you, okay, is this horizon that we see, the sky appearing to meet the ground, the line that everyone in the audience can see, are you claiming that that is the geometric horizon?
Right. Okay. So just to be clear, just so that I heard correctly what you said, you are identifying this area here. If I this line, you are identifying that line there as the horizon, correct?
Well, it's where the sky appears to meet the ground. Yeah.
Okay. And would you agree then that this object, which is clearly defined, is essentially on the horizon?
Well, yeah. I mean, it could be further than the horizon or closer than the horizon.
You've identified this area as being the horizon, and you wanted to talk about some objects, and you could claim that it was further away. I'm just trying to say, if this is an object that can be identified, we can then establish where the horizon is, correct?
Well, you would have to claim that that's right where the horizon is, and therefore you'd have to know for a fact that you're seeing the entirety of it all the way to the bottom, right? And then relative location to the horizon, which is why the sky appears to meet the ground. This is why you keep on trying to shift it back over to me, because I'm asking you very simply, just cut to it, is this geometric horizon a physical obstruction of Earth curvature or not?
Yeah, my point is very simple, though. It's because you've made a claim that the horizon is further than it should be. And what I'm saying is that I can identify objects in this image and prove to you that that's not the case. You've already identified that this line here is the horizon. And I can demonstrate that this object here that sits on the horizon is about the exact same distance you'd expect to be away on a globe for it to meet the horizon. Now, you said that this line was the horizon, but you also claimed earlier that you're seeing further than you should do. But I also presented proof before regarding this wind turbine over here. This turbine here that's only 41 meters tall, it sits at its base is at 220 meters or 218 meters above sea level. So that stem is 41 meters, right? How many of those stems to go all the way down to 220 meters would you have to put in?
Oh, we can't see it.
You can clearly see that even Sleeping Warrior identified it, Brian's Logic identified it. The turbine was also picked out by Bev Try Thinking. This turbine is very clear on both images, and we know its hub height, we know its position, we know where it is, we know its elevation too. And that says that right here, you know, if you're going to claim that this line is the horizon, you're looking at about 180 meters missing of this mountain that this turbine sits upon. Also, I want to show you Google Earth because, you know, you talked about well, I talked about the channel marker. The channel marker is only 5.68 miles away. That's how far that channel marker is away from the observer, right? So when we go back to the image and we look over here and we look at this channel marker sitting on the horizon, which you claimed you identified this was where the horizon is. Well, I'm going to say that matches up perfectly to the globe Earth. Now, you made the claim that you could see further, and I'm asking, where are you seeing further in this image?
No, okay, then are you saying that that horizon is the geometric horizon? You can't answer, can you, Ranty? Is that the geometric horizon, yes or no?
It's a pointless argument because you never actually see the horizon. You only ever see the perceived horizon.
Okay, so then you can't say that this is the Earth curvature here because you just conceded we never see the Earth curvature, i.e. the geometric horizon.
The horizon. I don't need the horizon to identify how where things are in this image. I know that the hub height of that turbine is 41 meters, and I know its elevation is 218 meters above sea level. I know by process of elimination that you can scale that down and know that where it intersects the perceived horizon is definitely about 180 meters. In fact, if you actually place the turbine and you scaled it all the way down, the bottom of that turbine here will be below the people here in the foreground. Now, unless you're saying that the horizon has somehow dropped beneath these human beings here, then, you know, you haven't got an argument. You really don't have an argument.
Okay.
This argument about this smudge is a red herring, and I'm sorry, but the main point of this topic that we brought you in here today to discuss was this part of the image over here, the very clear imagery, the defined mountains, the defined tower, and you can actually identify exactly where eye level is in this image. You don't need to see a horizon. There's no refraction going on. It's very
There's
easy
no
to
refraction going on.
Don't pick up on words. We're sticking to this particular part of the observation. So the first point was, could you use trigonometry? I showed that trigonometry matches the globe. When you actually put the drop values in and you actually, you know, use it properly using the trigonometry, you can actually determine that it matches up perfectly to a globe. So the next question is going to be, how in the pixel count did you disprove Ruhif's points?
Wait, no, why didn't you actually respond to my rebuttal to the trigonometry? Do you account for refraction in your trigonometry when you apply it to the presupposed fairy tale globe model?
I didn't use that, no.
So you didn't account for refraction at all, and you basically assumed that there was literally no refraction in this image?
Well, in what refraction would you be trying to claim is happening here in this image?
Wait, I just wanted yes or no. Are you saying that there is no refraction?
I didn't say that. I said I didn't calculate for it.
So then you don't have an accurate calculation if you didn't account for all the variables, then do you?
Well, it wouldn't be accurate if you, because the refraction you'd be trying to impose on me would be 7/6R, which would be essentially seeing more. But what you would have to invoke here is a reverse, a sinking calculation. So whatever calculation I was to put in with refraction wouldn't match anyway, because you would have to try and claim some kind of sinking going on here.
No, you're having to claim that this is a physical obstruction of a geometric horizon, and then you're using trigonometry, applying it to the globe Earth, the presupposed maths, and you're not accounting for refraction. And then you're not accounting for angular size change over distance on the flat Earth, then accounting for refraction and how it's going to obviously change more the further away you get from the observer, which is exactly what we see. The mountains are way further than the tower, bro. That's why they're way smaller whenever it comes to the actual amount of change that it's experienced, because it's further away. I'm asking you, did you account for refraction, or have you just thrown out a very important variable and then claimed that your calculations are accurate simultaneously? Because that's not working out, bro. That doesn't make sense.
So are you claiming there's an exponential increase in refraction over distance?
I'm claiming that you haven't even actually accounted for all the variables, and you're touting your trigonometry that literally hand waves dismiss one of the most important variables when it comes to perception, which is refraction.
So can you tell me then, I want you to explain and you to do this calculation for me, to tell me how this works on a flat plane.
You want me to do the calculation for you? Well, I'll show you without calculations, because that isn't in any way necessary. Whenever you look over a vast distance of a flat Earth, you will have things change in the distance. Now, for years, we've heard globe earthers say, no, you don't have to account for angular size change with distance or perspective. We just have our Earth curve calculator. Look, here it is. Boats disappear from the bottom. Now that we've invoked the black swan and decimated your geometric horizon, you guys want to hand wave dismiss this phenomena, saying, well, there's no refraction here, or basically none. I don't need to calculate it. When for years, you've actually been bagok refraction for over a year now when we bring up the black swan. You titled this the white swan, but then you want to throw away refraction when that was your very argument to the lack of geometric horizon. So in summary, it's already over. You've admitted that there's no geometric horizon you can isolate. You admitted that we never see it. You then made the unfounded, preposterous claim that there's no refraction here, and that you've mapped out trigonometry with the presupposition of sphericity, not accounting for refraction affecting your optics, and somehow this doesn't work on a flat Earth, when this is literally what we would observe on a flat Earth, and it fluctuates based on atmospheric conditions.
Okay, so could you show me how this would happen on a flat Earth, please?
Yeah, so as something gets further away from you, it gets smaller. The mountains are much further away from us than the tower. So the tower has gone through less angular size change with distance because it's gone through less distance, right? So the size change is proportionate to the distance away from the observer. The mountains are much further away. The highest points of the mountains are actually in the back, furthest away from the observer. The shorter parts of the mountains are closer. That means that the shorter part of the mountains have suffered less angular size change, but the ones in the back have gone through much more angular size change. This is expected. I can have a little action figure sit right in front of me that's only 6 inches tall, and they'll look taller than mountains in the background if I get close enough to the actual 6-inch tall action figure. This is angular size change with distance. We would expect this. We would expect the time lapse to show exactly what it did, which is these mountains fluctuating up and down. So the Earth's not breathing physically. There's no physical horizon here. So I'm asking, how do you know that this wouldn't work on a flat Earth? Where's the geometric horizon that works based on what your model predicts if the Earth's now a globe with a radius of 3959?
Okay, so from that, I can assume that you haven't actually analyzed the image at all.
So that's the best you got. You can't say.
I can just assume that because these mountains here. Do you know the distances to them? Do you know what part of these mountains we're looking at, or what other mountains may be in this image?
Yeah. I want you to stop asking me what's going on. I want you to tell us all, since we're so crazy, we think the Earth's not a magic ball that defies physics. Where's the geometric horizon? This is your claim. You're claiming this couldn't work on a flat Earth. So that means it has to be on a globe Earth, which means there has to be a geometric horizon that comes from the radius value of 3959. So I'm asking you, where is the physical obstruction of Earth curvature? Because you can't see the bottom of the mountains to make a claim of how much of the bottom's being obstructed when you have an entire landmass miles and miles and miles closer to you in front of the mountains, blocking the bottom of the view. It's just an unfounded claim. And of course, the mountains look like they got smaller. They're much further away than the tower. This is what's expected on a flat Earth. This is an apparent location based on atmospheric conditions. And your side has to claim there's a physical obstruction that's consistent here. So I'm asking you, is there a geometric horizon here, and where's it at?
Okay, so I've just flipped images. Hopefully you're seeing a different image now. Have you seen this image before, or is this the first time that you've actually seen it?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Okay, so what do you think's going on here?
What do I think is going on? I think that you drew a line on a picture next to a cartoon, and now you're telling us that the Earth's a ball. But are you saying that this line is a geometric horizon, or what's your claim?
Yeah, this is actually a topographical map of Dowcrag and the Old Man of Coniston. And obviously this is a real image on the left-hand side. This is a real image here. And you can actually see the troughs and the mountains. And we know where eyeline is. We know this red line here. We know that that's eyeline in relation to Blackpool. And what you have here is all this terrain here, which is about 350 meters of that mountain that's below eyeline when you actually look through Blackpool. So can you tell me where the rest of that mountain is on a flat plane?
Yeah, it's being obstructed by the city and the landscape much closer to you. So you see what's much closer to you much faster, and it changes in angular size much less. So you're looking at mountains much further away than the buildings on that landmass. You've drawn a line and saying that that's where it should be. Well, I guess that's what you want to straw man and say, but the truth is that the horizon is an apparent location that constantly fluctuates due to atmospheric conditions. It isn't a physical location. This is exactly what we would expect to see. You have a much closer landmass with elevation up in front of the mountains obstructing the bottom of it. So for your claim to be simultaneously you can't see the bottom of the mountains, but we know there's too much of the mountains being obstructed by Earth curvature is preposterous, because it's the city itself that's obstructing the bottom of the mountain, and it's closer, so it looks bigger.
Yeah, the thing is, I didn't claim a horizon, did I? I claimed eyeline.
Yeah, you can't. You can't. You're making sure to tiptoe around claiming a geometric horizon because you can't claim one.
Why do you think we can't identify eyeline in this image?
I'm asking about the geometric horizon, though.
Yeah, no, but you've got to think out of the box here. You've got to look at what you can actually see, and you can definitely determine where eyeline is. And based upon that, you can see that 350 meters of that mountain is below eyeline, i.e., below around anywhere from 6 to 12 meters below eyeline. So we've got 350 meters of that that's trying to squeeze itself in what? 12 meters? Do you think that's even possible on a plane?
Yeah, dude, why are you just skating past this? Is this your only tactic here? When you increase distance, the mountains, they change with angular size, meaning they get smaller the further you get away. These mountains, we are not perceiving them in their actual size. This is the apparent size. And it's much further away than this landscape of the city and of the tower on the landmass significantly closer. So it hasn't been affected by as much angular size change with distance. So you have part of the bottom being obstructed by a bigger representation of the landmass closer to you because it's closer to you, and you can't actually specify where the geometric horizon is. So you're just saying this is impossible on a flat Earth? I'm asking you, where's the geometric horizon?
So you've just mentioned basically the inverse square law there. And my question is the inverse square law only applicable on the vertical then?
Is the inverse square law only applicable on the vertical what?
Is it only applicable to the vertical aspect of the mountain?
No, who said it would be?
That's good. So now that you know that it's also scaled widthways and vertically, you can actually see that it's actually scaled perfectly in this image, from this image here to this image here. They're actually scaled correctly. So the inverse square law about you saying things get smaller with distance has already been accounted for in this here, what you're looking at, right? So that still leaves 350 meters below eye line.
Okay, so are you accounting for the angular size of the landscape in front of it? Because it seems like your little cartoon just left that part off, Ranty.
What do you mean accounting for the angular size of the town in the foreground? We don't need that. We just need to identify where eye line is.
Oh, you don't need to know the angular size differential between the city landscape that's way closer to you and the mountains that are way further away, which means that they're changing in angular size much more. You don't need to know the difference based on the distance between.
Absolutely not, because you know where eye line is in the image in the foreground. You know where that town is. You know where eye line is. You also then know where the mountains are behind that, because you can see that. And if you was to remove this town, everything above this red line, if you was to move everything of this town above that red line, it would only allow you to see this part here of the mountain, which would still leave 350 meters of the mountain below eye level.
So the best claim you have to make is that if we assume no refraction, if we apply trigonometry neglecting refraction to our presupposed sphericity and the dimensions with them, and if we were to hypothetically rip off all of the buildings in the entire skyline and the landmass leading up to the skyline because it's much closer, if we can rip all this out of existence and ignore the fact that there's an atmosphere, then your baseless assertion is that in that scenario, 100% hypothetically, there would still be part of the bottom of the mountain obstructed. That's your claim?
All that waffle amounted to absolutely nothing, because what you're seeing here is just cognitive dissonance by you, because you have failed to address where the 350 meters of this mountain is.
Yeah, it's below the altitude higher than that, and it's behind the city that's much closer than that, blocking the view.
Okay, let me try another image for you then. Okay. Can you, in this case then, tell me, this was modeled out using trigonometry, funnily enough, and what it should look like on a globe, the left-hand side matched up on a globe. This is Bev's image here, and this is the image from Kevin Jackson. And this is what it would look like on a flat Earth. And this is where the trigonometry would put it. This is where it would appear. So
does your trigonometry account for refraction, Ranty?
I think refraction would make it worse for you, to be honest.
So the answer is no, it doesn't account for refraction.
I believe refraction would make it worse for you.
Well, I'm not too concerned with your beliefs. I want to know if your little cartoons here accounted for refraction or not.
So my question is, which one do you think matches up to reality?
Neither one of them, because reality always has refraction that you didn't account for.
Sorry to butt in. Can I ask Whitsit, knowing that you were coming into this debate today, did you bring anything in terms of calculations as to how refraction would actually benefit your model? Because that would really help me understand what you're trying to say, and it would really help the people in the chat understand why refraction is so important to you.
No, because refraction always happens. That's why it's important. I don't need to calculate refraction, which is a loaded phenomenon. We have Snell's law, but when we apply it to the homogeneous medium of the atmosphere, then there's a differential of Snell's law, because it's not actually two media, it's just one medium with a differential and fluctuation within that. So it's called a differential equation of Snell's law. And yeah, we have a generalized idea of the phenomena of refraction, but as we apply it to how it's somehow working on a globe Earth, we have to then invoke terrestrial refraction of 7/6R, begging the question of the R value, which is also a category error because you're actually extending the very dimensions themselves. So I don't have calculations as to how this works on a flat Earth, because it only works on a flat Earth. And he admits this is his postulation, saying that it wouldn't work on a flat Earth. He has it right there, Blackpool Tower on a globe. Then he has it on a flat Earth. So whenever he models it out, he's supposed to do the calculations as to how refraction wouldn't affect it enough, but he just completely ignored the phenomena of refraction, which has actually been the globe Earthers' response and rebuttal to the black swan for over a year now. So when we show you the black swan and the geometric horizon's too far, oh, refraction, but now there's no refraction. You can't have it both ways. Whenever you straw man the flat Earth with trigonometry and don't account for refraction, that isn't our position. It's called a straw man.
Fantarang has it right. Ranty?
Okay, yeah, so exactly, yeah, so he didn't bring anything to the table, basically, except for just word salad. That's what I just got.
Okay, so you can actually respond. So this debate was fun. So there's no geometric horizon to support the fairy tale dimension claims of 3959 based on a circumference of 24901. You're making a specific positive claim of convexity of terra firma requiring a physical obstruction. Flat Earth, quote unquote, doesn't have a model. We just say it isn't a globe with the size they told us is. It's been debunked. There's no geometric horizon. So when you come to defend it saying that this is only consistent with the globe Earth model, then you're going to have to point out the geometric horizon. You're going to have to point out how you mapped it on a flat Earth strawman model that we don't adhere to, and you didn't even account for refraction, which we immediately and adamantly claim is always present because there's temperature fluctuation and atmospheric conditions that are consistently affecting what you perceive. So when you try to model it out on a flat Earth and pick your chest up and say that this isn't possible on a flat Earth, you're literally not even adhering to all of the variables that we all know are present. So it's just a baseless assertion. So you're shifting the burden of proof over to the flat Earth using a straw man model, not actually accounting for refraction, and you're never actually staking your claim of specificity that it's actually a radius value of 3959 and that there's a geometric horizon here consistent with that. So this is flooded in fallacies, and you just want to hand wave dismiss it and say it's word salad. No, it's not. I'm specifically making your claim for you because you refuse to do it.
So would you agree then that part of the mountain is missing?
Well, yeah, part of the mountain we can't see because there's actually land much closer to us than the mountain, and there's a city skyline on top of it.
Okay, so we can also identify how far away these mountains are, which were at the same distance, funnily enough, this part here and this part here. And we're able to get a calculation and scale a ruler for that. And that places the bottom of this mountain, Dow Crag, would be down here, right? That's where the bottom of that mountain would be. And funnily enough, Ruhif, with his pixel count, also came up with the same claim. The red spot is where the bottom of Dow Crag would be, and the green spot is 400 meters elevation, a little spot there, which is 400 meters in elevation, and you can actually just make that out over here. So that matches up absolutely perfectly with the ruler. So again, my question is, because we know that some of the mountain is not visible in this, and we can definitely determine that there's at least 350 meters of that below eye line, how is the town in the foreground obstructing all of that mountain?
Okay, so well, once again, we're seeing a much bigger representation of the skyline closer to us because it suffered less angular size change because it's much closer than the mountains, Ranty. The city is much closer than the mountains. So in addition to that, when you say this matches perfectly with what we expect, what are you talking about? It matches perfectly with what, Ranty? We're expecting it to see it this much below the eye line. So where'd you get that number from? How would we expect it to be that much lower?
Because I've actually done the calculations on it, Whitsit, and I was hoping that you were going to bring something too.
Yeah, I did. I saw that your calculations don't even account for refraction. This is a joke of a debate. Right.
So apart from refraction, then, apart from your only claim here about refraction, did you actually find out with that time lapse what was actually going on there? Which actually never at any point appeared to show any part of the mountain get anywhere close to the top of the tower. Well, let me just tell you, what you were actually visualizing there was the clouds rolling over the top of the mountain. I guess you forgot to look into that, did you?
Okay, yeah. So the time lapse shows that the mountains constantly move up and down, effectively like they're breathing. Now, this couldn't happen on a globe Earth because you're claiming that we can only see parts of the mountains because they're physically obstructed based on the convexity of terra firma. That's an Earth curve calculator that you invoke, ignoring trigonometry and size change with distance. Then you try to combine them side by side, ignoring refraction. But we know that there has to be a consistent physical obstruction here. That you're wanting to wiggle out of it, but the problem is there isn't a consistent physical construction here because we have time lapse where it moves, dude. It constantly moves. You're telling me that it never went below the tower. Well, it doesn't matter. The mountains are much further away. They've changed in angular size and they've compressed and got much smaller due to a decrease in angular resolution with an increase in distance. So we know that the tower is much closer. We have much more angular resolution. It's much bigger because it has suffered less size change with distance. This is what is expected. But what's not expected is that there is a physical obstruction here because we never see it. So if it's constantly moving, the mountains are moving with how much we can see from it. But the reason that we can't see the full mountains is because of Earth curve. Is the Earth curvature or the geometric horizon moving up and down?
Okay, so I guess you just didn't hear what I actually said just before then. The time lapse that you've just spoken about for the last 2 minutes was not visualizing just the mountains suddenly breathing and changing size. it was clouds rolling over the top of the mountains throughout the day.
So you're saying that the angular size that's perceived never changes?
Yes.
And the location of the mountains perceivably never changed?
The locations of the mountains, trust me, do never change.
I didn't say the locations of the mountain. I said perceivably, Ranty.
The perceived positions of the mountains do not change.
They objectively do, though, because we watched in the time lapse that they do, and you say, no, they're not. It's just because of the clouds. We know that everything else in the world changes, right? Because if I take a stick figure and I go a certain distance out, and then I make the same observation from the same distance every single day, it will look different day to day because atmospheric conditions change. You're literally claiming that this proves the Earth's a ball and can't be possible on a flat Earth by negating refraction entirely. And the fluctuation of refraction is what causes different perceptions. You've gone and made no observations yourself. You handpicked and cropped it out of a magazine and a tweet. Then you had supposedly saw someone else go and do it that just verified it for you. So 2 observations. You ignore and handwave dismiss the time lapse, and never in your dissecting of the observations do you even account for refraction that we know for a fact to be present. So to claim that this can't be possible on a flat Earth is literally dishonest because you're not even accounting for the most important variable that affects perception.
Okay, so you claimed that there's just one time that somebody went back. Here we have 4 images from Bev. Bev, that's Try Thinking, Level Earther. He keeps going back to the same location, and he keeps repeating the observation. Now, this isn't even including his original image. That would be 5 times. So this is just 4 times that we've cobbled together some photography. And as you can see, the mountains are always in the same position.
Oh, they're on the exact same position, Ranty?
They are always in the same position as regards to the tower. Always.
Okay, so in every observation, they're exactly the same. So refraction never affects the perception of these mountains. Is that your claim?
As you can see in these images here that was been presented by Bev, a level earther, friend of the flat earthers, he's been presenting this and showing that the mountains always appear in the same position relative to the tower.
The same general location, because the mountains are very big, Ranty, and they're very far away. So you're not going to see much of a difference when you have mountains almost 100 miles away and you have to account for angular size change with distance and refraction because you're increasing refractive effect proportionate to distance. So the more atmosphere you have in between you, the more refraction you have because the more atmosphere that's there. So you have a proportionate relationship in angular size and a proportionate relationship with refraction. When you just throw refraction out entirely, invoking the furthest point away in the image and saying that you don't have to account for refraction and making the basis assertion it doesn't move it because you showed us some really not very great images where they look to be generally the same is laughable, bro, because if you watch the time lapse, the mountains move, bro.
Okay, so as I say, the mountains weren't moving. It was the clouds rolling over the top of them, which just gave the appearance of some additional height to the mountains at times as the clouds rolled over them. That's what happens when you actually look at mountains. But on this left-hand side, I'm glad that you said that you thought it was just very minimal, you know, in Bev's images, the 4 that I just showed, because what you would have to see is you would have to see the mountains this high, right down here, this high, this much higher than the tower to get it to be a flat plane. That's
no, we already talked about how that isn't true because you don't account for refraction, Ranty. And if you zoom back in,
would make it worse for you.
No, it wouldn't. That's just your baseless assertion to somehow justify the fact you didn't even account for it.
Assertion? You have a baseless assertion because you haven't even brought any kind of calculations.
So you don't do any calculations. You say that we don't need to account for them. And then in the same breath, you say that I can't respond to it because I haven't done the calculations. Which one is it? Do we need the calculations of refraction or do we not need them?
So as I said, you've said I haven't done calculations for refraction, but funnily enough, Ruhif did. I'll get to that in a bit. But my point being that you say that I haven't, fair enough, right? But you haven't either. You haven't brought anything. I'm claiming that it would be worse for you. And you know it would be worse for you because you've just talked about 7.6 over R refraction, which is looming, right? So it absolutely would be worse for you because you need it to loom. You need it to loom an awful lot, right? But it isn't looming, is it? That's my
7/6R. That has nothing to do with our claim, because that's when you invoke a radius value of 3959. The radius value is what's in contention. So why would I be invoking 7/6R? No, that's terrestrial fraction on a globe Earth, reifying and assuming the radius value that's in contention. Therefore, it's a begging the question fallacy and a reification fallacy. And it's a category error because we're talking about the optical effect in the atmosphere, not the actual size of the terrain itself. You just extend the hypothetical presupposed dimensions and then put a number on there saying, look, this proves refraction. So please get to where you invoke the refraction, because right now you're handwave dismissing the most important variable as if it's not applicable, which means your diagram holds no weight, Ranty.
Can I just jump in for 1 second? I'm sorry. I feel like I've got a grip on the pivotal point in this debate. So Whitsit, please correct me if I'm misquoting you here. But I feel that you're saying that refraction is kind of the cause for this image, right? That's what I feel like you're saying. Refraction's the cause for that. And I know Ranty has made the point that even with the time lapse and even with all the different photographs, the mountains never get higher than the tower. He said that. I feel that that's like the sticking point. So can I just ask you to address that even with time lapses and different amounts of refraction, etc., can you just tell us why the mountains never, ever, 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 ever get higher than the tower? Because you can let him explain that.
Yeah, refraction is just part of it, bro. So the time lapse shows the effects of refraction, which changes the apparent location over and over and over. But we also have to account for angular size change with distance. If you take them both into account, which Ranty conveniently just wants to ignore one of the most pivotal variables, then you will see, well, there's a constant fluctuation added onto the fact that those mountains are significantly further away, significantly smaller due to angular size change. And we would actually expect to see it look like it was lower than the tower that's way closer. This is a basic law of perspective. A basic remedial understanding of perspective knows that there is a angular size change with distance. When that tower is way closer, it'll look taller than the mountains, although it's clearly in no way taller than the mountains. It just hasn't shrunk as much as the mountains have. So you have to account for refraction and angular size change with distance. He said there's no refraction here. So yes, it's refraction, but that's not the entirety of the claim. No, that's a part of it. It's one of the variables, as is angular size change with distance.
Would you agree then that using trigonometry accounts already for angular size change over distance?
Yeah, but it doesn't account for refraction, does it, Ranty?
We've used trigonometry.
Did you use refraction?
So, no, but what I'm saying is you literally just said there was two claims there. There was two parts to your claim, refraction and when wasn't accounting for angular size change over distance. But I showed you the trigonometry, which
without refraction.
Yes, but that removes part of your claim, which just leaves you with refraction.
No, you got to do them both at the same time.
Can we not talk over each other, please? Let them finish the point, and then you can come back in with it.
Yeah, so with the trigonometry, I showed you the calculation for trigonometry, which accounts for angular size change over distance, and showed how it absolutely matches up to a plane, to a globe. And what we're looking at here is about 350 meters, or about half of the mountain that's hidden behind eyeline of Blackpool. And to say that refraction is doing that and also not affecting the tower in the foreground, because obviously the tower in the foreground is still a substantial distance away, and then the mountains behind it obviously further. But to claim that if there's refraction going on, then surely there would be something happening to the tower as well. So unless you're saying it's selective and it's only happening to the mountains, I don't know where your claim is here, and I don't know how you can come up with any kind of refraction unless is it some kind of flat Earth refraction, because you don't want to talk about 7/6R refraction. So is this a new kind of refraction that you're inventing, sort of like flat Earth refraction on a plane that can make half of that mountain disappear behind the tower in the foreground?
Yeah. So you made numerous claims there, but you're claiming that refraction isn't affecting the tower. So how would it be affecting the mountains? Looks like you have no argument here. Yeah, I do. I've said it 5 times. The mountain is further away. So it's going to have a stronger effect of refraction because it's through much more, dozens of miles more of atmosphere. So you've increased the layers of atmosphere. So refraction increases proportionate to the distance. And so does the angular size change. It increases proportionate to the distance as well. So you need to account for both of them. You've then said that you mapped it out with trigonometry, assuming a flat Earth model, also known as a strawman fallacy, and that you don't account for refraction at all. So you have to account for both angular size change and refraction to adequately explain the apparent location of the mountains relative to the closer location of the tower. You did none of this. You then strawman modeled flat Earth, did trigonometry without refraction. So it doesn't work. You have to account for both angular size change and refraction. And yeah, the mountains are affected by more refraction because they're through many more miles of the atmosphere.
Okay, so it seems to me that you're just a little bit upset because I didn't include any kind of refraction in my calculations. Nothing to do with Ruhifs, nothing to do with conspiracy cats either, but just particularly mine, right? So you're focusing on that, and you think somehow that if I then include refraction, it's going to make it better for you. Is that right?
Well, if you can't adequately account for refraction, you can't make a claim about the apparent location. Now, can you, Ranty?
Okay, so let's pop this in. Let me share my screen again.
Are you going to account for refraction now, Ranty?
Yes, I've just put the calculation up there just to include for refraction.
I'm not screen sharing yet. Do I need to screen share now?
Yes, you can screen share now.
Go and account for refraction.
So here I am accounting for refraction just so that Whitsit is happy. And instead of the geometric hidden, where are we? Geometric hidden, we are, where is it? Geometric hidden, 375 meters hidden. It's not changed that much, has it, Sunshine?
Okay, so you think that this is the accurate quantification of refraction. So you do see that this invokes the radius value, correct?
You wanted me to include refraction. I've included refraction for you.
Well, you're including your version of a presupposed refraction based on a presupposed dimension that's literally in contention. Right. So when we say the Earth's not a ball, it's because we went and measured the Earth, bro, and it doesn't have the convexity rate of terra firma consistently obstructing our view physically that it would literally have to based on a geometric necessity. Now, you've now invoked an optical effect of refraction, which I've been asking for because you have to account for it. But you were supposed to be strawmanning the flat Earth. So how is it that you're going to adequately represent flat Earth using trigonometry and angular size change with distance and then account for refraction with it if in order to account for refraction on the flat Earth, you have to assume a radius of a globe Earth? How does that work, Ranty?
See, I didn't apply this to your calculation, did I? See, you're presupposing a flat plane, and you're talking about refraction, but you don't want to use globe refraction. So my question is, if we're not using globe refraction, can you show me, like I'm showing you the calculation, can you show me your calculation then that's going to tell us how half of that mountain is hidden behind the tower, right, below eye line, on your flat plane? Can you please provide a citation or some kind of calculator that shows me where that is?
I would just like to remind the entire audience that just a few minutes ago, Ranty had these two pictures up, and one of them was globe Earth and one of them was flat Earth. He then went to proceed to beat up a strawman model that no real flat earther claims because we can actually verify a model and their reification fallacies. He tried to beat up a strawman model of the flat Earth, right? But he didn't account for refraction. So it took all of 30 minutes to get Ranty to finally admit that he didn't account for refraction, but that it's obviously very, very relevant to perception. So what he's now done is gone over and invoked the R value of the globe Earth, the supposed terrestrial refraction on a globe Earth, then tried to fit that into his straw man against the flat Earth, explaining how these angles wouldn't work. So you're not even explaining refraction over a plane to explain why it wouldn't work on a plane. So you've effectively refuted yourself. You didn't account for refraction when you looked at the optical effect of the apparent location. Okay, you just assumed angular size change with trigonometry based on the assumption of actual locations and the assumption of no refraction. So now that you've been told that you obviously have to account for the variable refraction, you went back over to the globe Earth by claiming to poke holes in the flat Earth by invoking the refraction rate on a globe. That doesn't help you here. That's a non sequitur.
So, sorry, Whitsit, can you actually answer the question that he asked you to answer instead of trying to appeal to the audience for what you think has happened here? Can you actually answer what he's asking you?
I did just answer what he's asking me. He's asking me to give my calculations, but his entire premise is that he's shown that this doesn't work on a flat Earth, but he didn't even account for refraction over a flat Earth and work that into his calculations to sufficiently propose that it wouldn't work on a flat Earth. He then went over and stumbled. No, that's his job, because he says that this doesn't work on a flat Earth. He's making that claim. He said that he mapped it out using trig and everything to show how it's impossible on a flat Earth, yet he didn't even account for refraction. When asked for refraction, he went back to the globe Earth and used 7/6R, which assumes the radius value, and he doesn't even have anything to do with the atmospheric conditions. So he can't explain how it couldn't work on a flat Earth. We know it could work on a flat Earth.
That's what I'm getting from you. I don't mean to be disrespectful, and I don't like interrupting, but you came into this debate. You don't have, because I don't have your figures. You were supposed to bring your figures to show how Ranty's figures are ridiculous. You didn't bring any of that. So
I just showed why his figures were ridiculous. Are you moderating or debating? Am I missing something here? Because both of you are trying to help Ranty out because he's getting decimated. But I'll just leave.
Answered the question, and you
I just did.
Answered the question.
Yeah, I did. I'll answer for you again. Okay. So, and stop debating. This is supposed to be between us two. I did answer the question. I said, I don't have to come up with maths to prove how it's possible on a flat Earth, because he claimed it was impossible on a flat Earth and that he proved it using math. Now I critiqued his math, saying he didn't even account for refraction. Then he stumbled over there, reluctantly grabbing refraction from the wrong model. Now you're trying to shift the burden of proof as the moderator. You're trying to help him to get me to now have the burden of proof to somehow substantiate his claim that it was impossible on a flat Earth, or to suppose or presuppose the antithetical. He's supposed to support his claim. He's claiming the Earth's a ball with a radius of 3959, where's a geometric horizon, and if you're going to say this is impossible on a flat Earth using trigonometry, you have to account for refraction. He then went over there and used globe Earth mass for refraction, which doesn't in any way represent a flat Earth. So he made a claim this is impossible on a flat Earth. I'm showing him he hasn't even done all his own math. Now you're asking me to provide math. Your response to him not actually using the proper calculations is that I should go do it for him?
Yes.
Now, at this point, what I'm going to say is this stream is going to end in 19 minutes. Crafty Keeler's got a stream on her own channel, and we're certainly not going to be overlapping that. So if you're in the chat and you want questions, if you start posting questions and tagging agree to disagreeing, then in about 6 or 7 minutes, Ranty and Whitsit, I'll start giving questions to you two from the chat. And also I'll read out the super chats that we've been getting through the stream as well. Thank you for, I've been trying to show them on the stream, but I will definitely read them out at the end of the debate as well. But in the spirit of the debate, Ranty, can you just ask that question very specifically, and we'll get a very specific answer, and then we'll move on. What was your very specific question?
So my specific question was, okay, I hadn't used refraction. I didn't want to put that in. I didn't want to include that. I didn't need to do that. I then included it on his request, and then he tries to strawman me to say that I was trying to apply that to his flat plane. That isn't what I asked. I asked him, half of this mountain is hidden behind a very, very slender part of Blackpool Tower, right? In fact, let me just show you. This red line over here is eye line. That is eye line right here. That X there, that X marks the spot. If we go over here, this X marks a spot here on the actual hill, and that's at 421 meters above sea level, right? Which means that that part there, from the top of that mountain there down to here, is about 300 meters, and we've got 421 meters right down to the very bottom. So Whitsit is claiming that the rest of this mountain, this 421 meters, is in this very narrow spot here. Now, I want him to tell me where his refraction calculator is on a plane, his refraction calculator, that can show some calculations that shows that this is a possibility, that all of that mountain can be squished and refracted behind that part of the town here.
So the question, just to make sure that we're getting this right, the question here is, was it that tiny space between the cross and the line is where it seems like you're suggesting the entire missing bottom of that mountain is. Can you, I think Ranty was saying, can you give a calculation or an explanation of refraction to explain how all of that missing part of the mountain is in between those lines? You'll not be interrupted. Off you go.
Yeah, well, once again, and I've had to say this 5 times, what you're trying to both do is isolate one part of the claim and say that that's my entire claim. I've specified very clearly so that there's no confusion that you have to account for angular size change with distance and refraction. Now, not one of the postulations from Ranty has ever done this. He'll never do this. And he also cropped out part of where it shows you the geometric horizon is certainly not present where it needs to be. He has to account for angular size change with distance and for refraction, showing how it wouldn't work on a flat Earth. He's never done this. So when he baselessly asserts it's impossible on a flat Earth, he hasn't even in any way figured out if that's truly the case. He didn't account for refraction. So yeah, for one, if that's the eye line, is that the tangent point? Is that the geometric horizon? Where's the geometric horizon? The Earth's supposed to be a ball. The mountains are much further away. They changed in angular size. The most high altitude of the mountains are the furthest point away, which means they're affected more by angular size because they have more distance. The shortest part of the mountains are closer. What this results in is basically a compression effect over distance because angular size has changed. Now, the part that's in the middle, supposedly obstructing because the Earth's a magic ball that defies physics, is significantly closer. So we can't see the bottom of the mountain because the angular size has changed much less with the objects much closer to us. So you're just making a baseless assertion of where you speculatively think it should be by drawing some red ambiguous line over a compressed cropped image, when the truth is this is much closer. It should look like it's bigger because it's much closer. The mountains are much further away. So we can't see the full bottom. We have the skyline obstructing it in an ambiguous line across the middle of the screen saying this is where it should be. And I know the mountains go all the way down here because if we ripped all the city off, if we ripped out all the landscape in between it, I promise that you still wouldn't be able to see the bottom of the mountain. Well, that's just a baseless assertion. So we need some evidence of that. Is this the geometric horizon? Is that red line the geometric horizon? Is that where it's supposed to be? Have you done the math to prove this is consistent with the geometric horizon? How can you know that you shouldn't see the bottom when there's literally a city skyline that's obstructing it? And you have to account for both the trig of angular size change with distance and refraction to adequately represent a flat Earth observation. You've got to do that. So the burden of proof is still on the globe Earth to show where the geometric horizon is here because it's nowhere to be found. Is it the red line or what? Like, where's the Earth curvature that we're dumb for not believing in?
So we'll pass that to Ranty. I'm going to give you two or three minutes now, totally uninterrupted. Then we'll go to questions from the chat. So Whitsit, this is Ranty's time now. If you could just respect that, off you go, Ranty.
Yeah, that's fine. I think I'll just sum up, you know, and let you get on with the rest of the show, because what's happened here is clearly that Whitsit has come in underprepared, not done any calculations whatsoever, hasn't brought any kind of mathematical results to the table. He hasn't talked about his type of refraction. He wants my type of refraction to then push it back to the globe, which I think is disingenuous, considering this was debate supposedly on where we're looking at this part here and why we're seeing it doesn't match up to a plane, you know. And then he wanted me to finally include a curve calculator so that he could then use that against me and try to straw man me to say that I was trying to use that on his flat plane. Very disingenuous. But I think the audience has probably seen that basically Whitsit answered absolutely nothing, had nothing, brought nothing, wasn't prepared for this at all. And what can I say? I mean, if this is the best, this is supposedly the best that the flat Earth has to throw, and it's not very good. It really isn't. I expected better, Whitsit. I really did.
Okay, at this point, Whitsit, we're definitely going to give you a chance to respond, like I said at the beginning. And can I just say, actually, before we go any further, Whitsit, you've come onto a channel here where you've got me, and I'm not, you know, assuming that you know what my channel is and what I do, but if you did, you'd feel like you're coming into the lion's den. So big respect to you for coming here and being civil and polite while you've done it. So I'll just thank you for that. You've been absolutely fantastic, and you've respected what we said before we come on the channel. So honestly, I really appreciate that. Ranty, thank you so much. What I'm going to do, what's happened there? Something's changed on the screen. What we're going to do is going to bring in questions from the chat. I'm going to read out super chats that have been given. While we're doing that, questions from the chat can come in and we'll fire them to you both. And then we always do a bit of fun, or we're going to always start doing maybe a little bit of a vote to see who the winner was, and the chat can pop that up. So super chats. I'm going to read these out now, and then we'll go questions from the chat and wrap up for Crafty's stream. If my internet was a bit quick, I'll be able to do this better. So I'm only reading out the chats, by the way, guys. That's all I'm doing. Cosmonaut, thank you so much. $5 says, does Whitsit's... I'm going to read these out. I don't know the context. There's obviously some context behind these, and I don't know it, so I apologize. Does Whitsit's coach help with gel prep as well? He's going to need it. I don't get that one bit. Sheeples Phoenix. So, is there a flat Earth refraction calculation or not? And I think that's a really good question. I'd love to hear someone come on to agree to disagree and actually give calculations about refraction on a flat Earth. That would actually be amazing if they could come and bring calculations and equations. Hal Soy, thank you so much. Says, I think we might have a new record in the number of syllables in a 2-letter word. NO, several times over this debate. Don't even need math for it. Trish Blythe, Rachie 50, stop being so stupid. So I take there's been a bit of banter in the chat between you and Rachie. Rachie's lovely. She's great. She's nice. I disagree with what she says, but she's lovely. Bearded Devil, where is Whitsit's evidence? Full stop is the comment. Andy, he says, asking you to answer the question isn't debating, it's being a moderator. And I think, to be fair, Whitsit, I agree with that. I think when Crafty was asking to answer the question, she wasn't trying to debate you. She was just trying to keep you on track.
I didn't answer it, but go ahead.
No, that's fine. That's fair enough. Truth Nerds, you're straw manning our model, is what you said. So, okay, what is your model? You don't have a model, nor do you need one. It's always what you say. It's the same with Flat Earthers. JL Warren, nice to see you, buddy. Big friend of the channel, big fan of JL Warren. Go and check out his channel. No, Whitsit, address the argument, not the meta, you dingus. Real talk, Whitsit brings nothing but attitude. To be fair, I think you've been really civil. What a joke. I want Whitsits to show us a refraction calculation, but it won't. And I think next time, Whitsit, you come on, I think that's a really important thing. Maybe bring the calculations about the refraction, because just saying refraction doesn't really cut it if you can't show how it would work on a
But you're
flat
claiming
Earth.
that it's not possible on a flat Earth. So if you're going to supposedly do calculations and then account for a flat Earth and show why it's literally impossible to see it this way on a flat Earth, you need to account for the calculations of refraction. He threw that entire variable out. You're shifting the burden of proof. The Earth's not a ball.
Well, no, fair enough. I'm just reading out the super chats. I think people would appreciate if you could show that. Earth is life. Thank you so much. Whitsit, how did you verify that this would only work on a flat Earth? And again, I think that's where the calculations come in. If you're going to verify that it would only work on a flat Earth with the calculations. C4 said you literally admitted to having nothing. Doofus, sorry. Earth is Life says, at Whitsit, during that time lapse, did the mountains ever appear higher than the tower? And I think that's a really important point. The mountains never appear higher than the tower. Anamorphic Mind, thank you so much, says Flurf's Can't Perspective. Hashtag. C4, right at the very beginning. Wow, Whitsit came out lying. I'm shocked. Now, I'm not sure what you said at the very beginning, but he's took issue with that. Tati Bogle is showing some love for Crafty Keeler, who's going to have to go very soon. I know that. Who just says, oh, no. I like it. Tati Bogle's great. C4, before the stream even started, thank you so much, said, Whitsit, and I missed this. Whitsit, I'll let you have the reply to this one. He says, you got epically destroyed earlier at Gem Pandas. You ran away like a chicken. Not that you'll need it, but good luck, Ranty. What happened on Gem Pandas earlier, Whitsit?
I debated like 10 Globe Earthers that constantly interrupted and muted me for like 4 hours and decimated all of them with all of their strongmen, like I do every time I go in there. So that guy is literally saying the opposite of what happened, but to be expected.
Okay, Whitsit, one thing I'm going to ask is I hope you agree that you've not been interrupted. You've been given a first shout here. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
Cool. Real Talk says, stop crying, give us some evidence. Prove it. High Plains Drifter says, okay, why is there no working model for Flat Earth? Which I think is a really great question. Well, we all know the answer, but it's a really great question. Betty great name. Betty Swallocks. It's Round Doofus on Instagram. And Trish Blythe, again, well, thank you so much. Talk some sense into Rachel Catch is about to go to St. Bees with Sleeping Warrior. Oh, my God. Don't will be my answer. Email me, but just don't. Right. Sorry, let's go. Thank you so much to everybody that's done that. And if oh God, Dead Kennedy in Space. I've missed that one. Whitsit, who's coaching you on the phone, you keep staring at.
That's just how I'll read the chat on YouTube, you losers.
It's just it's a super chat. I'm just reading them out. God, it's coming in thick and fast now. And got another one here. And then we will get to questions from the chat. Bearded Devil, 1864. Can Whitsit identify which refractive effect causes the angularly reduced mountains to appear below the tower on a flat Earth, and where is his evidence therein?
Yeah,
That's
angular
the question.
size change alone would do that. And then if you account for refraction, it would just affect it even more. So whenever you say that you accounted for it, but never accounting for refraction, and then you're just accounting for the way closer landmass, and you're saying, I know if we rip that away, it'd still be obstructed. That's called a baseless assertion. And you'd have to specify it's consistent with the geometric horizon location that's necessitated by the radius value for like the 1,000th time in this debate. But no one ever did it, because you guys will never do it, because the geometric horizon doesn't exist. The Earth isn't a ball.
So I think that the question from Beardy Devil was, can you identify which refractive effect?
Yeah, I just said it isn't just a refractive effect. It's angular size change with distance. There's numerous different refractive effects. We have looming and sinking and towering, right? There's a fluctuation of these throughout the day, hour to hour, based on atmospheric conditions, but the angular size change is automatically going to be there. You have to account for both of them, make numerous observations, accounting for the weather conditions and the atmospheric conditions that fluctuate to then get an idea of where it actually is. Never will you see the actual location. It's just an apparent location, but for the globe Earth to be real, you have to invoke an actual physical location, but he's conveniently washed his hands with that, refusing to stake it like every globe earther does, because now they say we don't see the geometric horizon. So my answer's the same.
Cool. Awesome 85 says Whitsit, and again I'm just reading out super chats here. Whitsit has been looking down at his phone half the time that Ranty was talking. He's getting coached again. Jim Broughton says the Earth isn't a ball, it's a really big planet. I'm glad that wasn't Pornhub. Right. God, they come in thick and fast when you expect it. Oh my God, there's another one. If I've missed one, please can you tag me in the chat. Ultra Electron says, Whitsit, you absolute buffoon. Your words tell everyone to save you. I think that one was directed at you, Whitsit. Right, and I think I'm right there at the end. Now, in about 5 minutes, we're going to take the questions from the chat now. You don't have to super chat to give a question. You can just tag us in and ask a question. But, oh God, another one. And Betty Swallocks again says, is there an angular size over distance calculator? Is that a thing? Is there an angular size over distance calculator?
Well, apparently Ranty supposedly knows how to apply one to a flat Earth. So he claims there is one. Yeah, there's angular size change with distance. I do got to go, man. I'm not going to say anymore. I mean, it's pretty simple, dude. The answer to all the super chats are the same. If you actually want to prove the Earth's a ball, you need to go prove a consistent geometric horizon that's physically obstructing your view, consistent with the radius value of 3959. That's 1.225 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. It always has to be there. It's never there. It constantly fluctuates because it's a apparent location. When you invoke images like this, cherry picking and cropping the entire left out where the horizon extends, and then which is clearly a black swan, and then you just try to hand wave dismiss it and say, well, no, this just wouldn't work on a flat Earth. You're not proving the Earth's a ball, man. How is the Earth a ball? Where's the geometric horizon? We have to prove this. It's a physical, tangible obstruction. You guys want to run away from it, but you cannot. You can't claim refraction with the black swan and then claim no refraction with the white swan. It's lunacy.
So thank you for that. Right. We're going to have to close it up soon. Let's just do there are a couple more here. We'll do a little bit of a chat vote in a second before you go. Thank you so much, GPS. He's asking how Starlink works. That might be a subject for another debate. Jerry Warren, again, thank you so much. Would you debate your theism? Now, we debate all sorts in here. Like, we're not a flat earth channel. We debate everything. We've debated gun control, racism, trans people in sport. We debate everything. If you ever want to come on and debate theism and religion with Jerry Warren, he'll be well up for that. He's a very good debater, a very civil guy. If you're up for that, hopefully you'll be given the time to talk like you've been given tonight. Let me know.
Sure, we'll make it do that.
Cool. Right, we'll set that up. So Jerry Warren, you got yourself a debate there. Before we go over to finish and send people over to Crafty's stream, thank you again, Jerry Warren. Can we just have a little bit of a vote from the chat? If you think that Ranty has provided the best argument tonight and won, can you please just type Ranty in the chat? If you think that Whitsit gets it, has shown that this image cannot be proof of a globe, can you type Whitsit gets it? And we'll just see in the next couple of minutes where this goes. Crafty, while they're doing that, do you want to advertise your stream?
Yeah, my stream is just in relation to some of the controversy that has broken out in our little community, in the debunk community, over the last couple of weeks. So, yeah. But I will have to drop out. And thank you for being here with it. I really enjoyed listening to your position, because I wouldn't really have much time to actually hear what everyone has to say. So it was interesting to hear. And I'm looking forward to seeing what happens in the future with this channel. So, yay.
And I tell you what, Craft, thank you so much for coming on. And next time you're on, you'll be signed in on the Agree to Disagree account, and you'll be able to bring comments up and whatnot. But thank you so much. I'm so looking forward to what's going on. And again, for anyone who's arrived late, this isn't a hostile takeover. Creaky is still an absolute legend, best friend of the channel, really good guy. Just chosen to concentrate on doing what he loves most. And I'm really happy that Crafty, you've come in to fill those big boots. So thank you.
Again, not setting me up for failure at all.
Right. Well, I'll see you in the chat on your channel. I'm looking forward to that in a couple of minutes. Whitsit Gets It, can I thank you so much for coming on? I'm going to remove you in a second just to say goodbye to Ranty, but we'll get you back on to have a debate that's not flat Earth related. It's just more theism related. You've shown that you can debate without getting angry, and you've shown that you can debate in the way that we appreciate over here. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah, for sure. Just looking to the geometric horizon has to be there. So instead of trying to prove the Earth couldn't be flat, just prove the Earth is a ball. That's what I've been trying to do for 5 years. It is not. There's no geometric horizon. But thanks for having a cordial debate and actually letting us both speak. That's cool. It's refreshing.
All right. No, well, that's what we do over here. Right. I'm going to remove you now. We'll say goodbye to Ranty, and we'll get you back on again. Thank you. Ranty.
Yes, sir.
The chat were unanimous that you won that. I think Gleam was the only person to vote against you, and he voted for Gleam, which was brilliant. I love Gleam. That's just such a Gleam thing to do. That is absolutely brilliant. Is he still in the chat? He is there. Gleam, that was the best comment. I nearly pissed myself laughing when I saw that one. That was absolutely hilarious. Listen, mate, thank you for not jumping all over him and respecting what we do on this channel. Clearly, he had no response to anything you were saying, and he brought no calculations or nothing like that. But, you know, I think the audience saw that for themselves.
He was just very underprepared. It was very disappointing, actually. I expected much better, because I actually contacted Bob from Globebusters last week. I think it was last Sunday, and told him that this debate was happening and what we were going to be discussing, and that he needed to sharpen his fella up, you know, ready for this debate. And then they went on Globebusters on Sunday, and they were talking about it too. So Bob and Jaron and Whitsit were talking about this. So I was expecting to have a proper debate here. I expected him to bring his tools. I expected to bring, because he's representing the Globebusters side here. Now, don't forget, Bob's the super flurf, right? So, you know, super flurf, and he's a flurferette. You know, you got Whitsit here who's the flurferette. And, you know, he was supposed to be bringing Bob's rhetoric here, and he didn't do it. He didn't bring anything. So what can I say?
Well, I think his whole argument to me sounded like the classic, the further away you are, the smaller you get. So that's why the mountains are smaller. Clearly, that's predictable. And then refraction can make a tiny difference. But that's not rebuttal at all. That's, you know, we can clearly predict exactly how big something should be when it gets further away. We can clearly see that tower should never be taller than the mountains in the background. So what is causing it? You know, what's causing those hundreds of meters of missing mountain to be squashed between that red cross and that red line that you drew? And there was just nothing coming back, was there? Nothing
coming back. And can I do a quick plug for my new channel?
Flurfspective. It is hilarious. I'll plug it before you do. It's one of the funniest videos I've ever seen. And I know what's coming on your second video, because spoilers, like, you've shown me the script for some of it, and I can't wait. Now you can plug it.
So yeah, Flurfspective. How do we put a link in? I can say hello in the chat under Flurfspective, but I can't put a link in there. Maybe you could do that.
Well, if they go to the Conspiracy Cats account and go on the community page, it's linked there. It's the last post I've done on the community page on the Conspiracy Cats and Baldy Cats account.
There you go. Yeah, so I think I'm about 700 subscribers after just one video in like 3 days. It's absolutely amazing. The support of the community as a whole has been fantastic. All the responses that I'm getting is just brilliant. You know, everyone seems to be falling around laughing at my sense of humor, which is great, because I'm just trying to give an insight into the Flurf community with a little bit of a little bit of comedy to go along with that. So you have seen the second script of the second video, so I should have that out in the next few days, probably Monday or Tuesday. And I'm laughing at it again, just thinking about some of the things I've got going on. That it's really good. So if you would be so kind to go over there and subscribe to me, it really would make my day. Thank you very much.
No, it's a very, 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 very fun channel. And listen, yeah, that debate was great. And to be fair, you know, Whitsit was very cordial, and I know obviously he didn't bring anything to the table, but he was very cordial. We'd definitely love to have him back, and I'd love to see him debate JL Warren about theism. I'd love to see that. I don't know if JL is still in the chat, but that would be an amazing debate. And I'm going to do everything I can, buddy, if you're still in the chat, to set that up. But I did promise I wouldn't run over into Crafty Keeler's debate, and we are now 3 minutes into her chat. She is going to be talking to, I think she said before, not to mention it until it started, but she's going to be talking to Ilya Moon about the recent events in the community. And if you know what those events are, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you don't know what they are, I ain't saying anything more because I don't want to cause any controversy. But that's who she's going to be talking to over right there on Crafty Keeler's channel now. So go and check her out. I will end this stream so people can go there or do your own thing. Thank you so much to everybody who's watched, everyone who's super chatted, everyone who's asked questions. Thank you so much, Ranty, for coming so well prepared and for winning, hands down. Thank you for Crafty Keeler. And goodbye.
Bye-bye.